All right, gentlemen, your thoughts. Was I fake news on Meet the Press Friday or not? Todd, I'll start with you.
Well, this can be evaluated on several measures. I'm just going to start with Chuck Todd. He's clearly receiving what you're having to say in a way that he's not used to receiving it from somebody who, in the vaguest sense of the word, wears your uniform. Mm-hmm. You know, he's not ready with any boilerplate or anything. I mean, he was receiving it. He was taking it in. The dialogue was weighty and substantive on his end. I mean, you did what you've already started to do in the past on some level in terms of pointing out, listen, this is the emperor has no clothes. Let's not pretend otherwise. This is a voice we need to hear, and just to make that clear as a starting point is great, because that's what we need day after day after day. Hey, we're the grown-ups in the room. I know I'm making jokes over here, but that's actual reality. And the people over here pretending in dulcet tones that this is four-dimensional. No, that's the total circus. So I just, that's the first thing I was curious about, how he was going to be taking it. And this is not, I've made these same comments about some of the CNN gals. They realize that you are somebody who is not selling out. And if you can establish that from the get-go, win.
I often wonder sometimes when I go on these shows how often the booking producer has truly schooled the host on what I'm going to say. Now, in this case, they did. In fact, that's why I agreed to do this. I mean, we're done here at 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. We're going home. We got the weekend. We have family plans. Aaron and I both had to completely redo and schedule our Fridays to make this possible, all right? The only reason we did it is because I made very sure when Chuck Todd's producers contacted me, what are we going to talk about? Did you read what I wrote for USA Today, for example? If we're going to, am I just going to be a panel and fill on and be on a conference? No. He wants to talk to you specifically, and we're waiting for him to get off a plane. But he read that. He wants to talk to you specifically because he thinks you have a vantage point from the middle of the country that most of what his industry out here in the Beltway is not listening to. All right? And I said, all right, if that's really what you're after, right, then you can ask me any snotty question you want. I'll just use that. Then it's my job to turn it to my advantage. I just want to make sure I'm not a proxy. That you want to hear what I think, and you're not looking for a side. In this conversation, now I don't watch enough of Chuck Todd to know how he typically operates. I'm sure if we searched the tags with his name on it at Newsbusters and our friends at the Media Research Center, we'd probably see a lot of things that might not necessarily give us a warm fuzzy. But I'm just going to simply go by the fact, on this occasion, on Friday, he gave me a chance to speak to the fact a lot of people, millions upon millions upon millions of people, voted for Donald Trump, and they're not because they're not racists, they're not homophobic, they're not xenophobic, they're not sitting there with a dartboard of Hispanics at home and the bullseyes deport them all. They just simply want to know, guys, when will it be their turn? When will it be their turn to see health care made affordable again? When will it be their turn to see taxes made lower again? To see good-paying jobs for working-class Americans, blue-collar Americans. Again, the idea that, okay, I understand the steel mill's never coming back. I've said that on this show. Right. Pittsburgh doesn't want to be the steel city. It wants to be the Google city. But that's okay. But the idea, though, that I have to leave high school and rack up $150,000 in debt at minimum at a university for a degree doesn't get me anywhere, that there's got to be something between those two tentpoles. Who speaks to their angst? Where is that at? And that's and I told you guys when we were going to do this on Friday, that was the reason I was going to do it, is if they truly were going to give me a chance to speak to that, because even most of the Trump people they bring on these shows, Aaron, to talk about this, are so busy, frankly, ball washing Donald Trump, that they never actually talk about the issues or the policies that drove the angst to have 65 million people vote for someone they either think is crazy or dishonest because they're that desperate for president in the first place.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And when you can come on a show like that in an arena like this and simultaneously not just be Mr. Anti-Trump guy, you're not just a side on this, when you can actually cut through all of that and actually get to the heart of the issue as fast as you did. And credit to Chuck Todd, he just basically said, what do you make of all this? When you can do that, that's called winning, and that's called actually advancing conservatism. Maybe just a little bit, it was just one interview, but you successfully articulated what conservatism is. You gave a voice to those who feel like they don't have a voice, and you didn't sell out to any party, any faction, or anybody all at the same time. That's called #winning, Charlie Sheen.
You're upstairs. Can I just say one thing in regard to that? It's beyond the term conservatism. Truth. That's what it is. It's just the flat out truth. And the conservative label in this morass we're in right now, what it's supposed to mean matters. Mm-hmm. The word can get in the way because, as you've diagnosed, how it's been abused and how we've allowed it. So ultimately, this is him just pointing out, again, when he says, I want to be true what you think Trump was at the beginning. That's not talking about a political label. That's just talking about what is true and what is not. And that's what's important. Because again, if you can start getting the media to start their wheels turning on that thing, as it seemingly, listen, Chuck Todd's he's not going to be a conservative tomorrow, but if you can start push them into that, that's a win for all of America, not just conservatives.
I've said it before, I'll say it one more time. The primary vehicle of my never Trumpism wasn't that Trump was a miscreant. Now, I'm not comfortable with that. Okay, I'm not comfortable with that, but, I understand, I know my biblical history, I teach it. Sometimes in a culture, the miscreant Samson is the only one willing to pick up the jawbone of an ass. So if the choice is no one picks up the jawbone of an ass and starts wielding reckless abandon with it, and laying down ordinance with it in a culture that needs it, or the miscreant, the one guy you'd prefer would not pick it up, is at least willing to pick it up, I'm going with the guy picking it up. You guys, I'm in. All right? Would I prefer the nice guy that knows all his Bible verses, picks up the jawbone of an ass, and starts breaking jaws with it? I would prefer that. Aaron, would you prefer that?
Absolutely.
Would you prefer that?
Indeed.
But if the choice is we just sit there and lose everything, or the miscreant that really none of us would like to roll with or marry our daughters off to is willing to pick up the jawbone of an ass, I'll go with that guy because I'm going to choose survival over losing. Are we still together on that one?
We can talk about that.
But here's the problem. Right now we're getting neither. Right now we're getting a miscreant without the jawbone of an ass. We're just getting a miscreant. We're getting all the baggage and none of the benefits. That's a bad deal. That's a generational loss. That's not an election loss. That's not a next year loss. This is now where we are being rebranded for nothing in return. Nothing in return. We're getting nothing out of this except baggage. That is a major problem for us as a movement. It goes back to what I said at the very beginning. Some of you need to make a decision. Do you want to advocate for the themes and policies that Trump ran on, or do you just want to advocate for Mitt the Trump?